Good afternoon and welcome back to my podcast. My name is Swamp Rose and I'm continuing my podcast where I cover the Idaho4 case, otherwise known as the case against Ryan Koberger. So this is a response to a statement made by Steve Gonsalves recently on the DT show. And I sort of touched base on this in another live stream a couple days ago, but since then I have an update. I actually reached out to Dr. Ramsland for statement, and she responded to me with a little bit of clarification. So I want to go into that really quickly. Before I get started, though, I do want to say this isn't a response directly to Steve Gonsalves. He was part of an edited interview. And part of when I think of editing, it's not just that I think of like cutting out the dead air or maybe a legal statement. Editing also means fact checking to me. And so I'm just curious to know if I bring this new information, it's possible to maybe, this interview is going to get probably over 100,000 views. And I just wonder if we can maybe get this part edited out of the interview, or if maybe Daniel wouldn't mind picking up this story and running with this updated information. So to begin, in the interview that I just watched, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase, but the guest essentially said that an extreme offender who was responsible for unaliving 10 people, that a world famous forensic criminal psychologist had a sit-down interview, wrote a book, split the proceeds with a serial killer so they could have like a mob boss status in prison. And so I knew that this wasn't the case. And so I played a clip from an interview I had done with Dr. Ramsland about a year ago. But I wanted to go get further detail on this. So, like I said, I emailed her, and I'm going to just give you a couple of extra details. So, number one, the victims' families received the majority of the proceeds from the book and anything that comes from it, like the documentary. They received this through an attorney. They also keep tabs on any money coming into Rader, as they have a lawsuit against him and they can garnish his accounts. Someone made there was a comment made on the channel that there, could be a possibility of back channeling money. But number one, it's not possible. And number two, Dr. Ramsland wouldn't do that. There is never any deal in place that he'd get money from the book. It was all done through a legal arrangement. Not only that, but Dr. Ramsland would pay for her calls when they spoke together and the postage on his mailings. He earns nothing from her work. So, you have now a direct statement. I just wanted to also take a moment and explain what Dr. Ramsland did, because I recently saw this. And I saw it, this was posted by Howard Bloom on the 26th of April. And I would expect nothing more or less from Howard Bloom, using his craft to instead report on the facts, but to elaborate on things that he doesn't necessarily have firsthand knowledge of, because I read this at the end of the article. He says, "What does Ramsland make of it? She apparently is not talking. She's never responded to my emails." Bloom, and Dr. Ramsland won't return emails to him, but she returned this email to me. I humbly will say, and I just hope that you take this information, run with it. I do want to say one thing about the work of Dr. Ramsland, and not her specifically, but people who do this in general. In the most recent interview that Steve Gonsalves gave with DT show, hold on, where am I? In the most recent interview that Steve Gonsalves gave with DT show, he references going to Coeur d'Alene to meet with the FBI agents. These FBI agents gave a pretty specific profile of who they thought might commit the crime, or the types of people that might commit a crime like this. That type of information is gathered by people like Dr. Ramsland, and then other people apply that information. And so I think we should all pause and remember that what we see from her work benefits law enforcement. And I mean, a couple other pieces of information I gleaned from when I did interview her is, you know, there are different specialties within this field. And, you know, there is no way to spot a psychopath or a liar. You know, those are specialty things. And it's the work that they're doing now that can benefit science later. I'm tripping up because obviously this isn't my area of expertise. I'm just giving kind of my layman understanding of it. But, you know, the way that, you know, it's just, anyway, I wanted to give you my opinion. And then I do have a soundbite for you. I'm going to play you exactly what Dr. Ramsland said on my show when she was here last. It's like a 3-minute clip. You mentioned, I was reading about the process that you went through to actually visit him in prison, and you went through all these lengths of things, and I don't want to try to remember all of them, but I know there was like an approval through the family, and they were getting him to sign things saying he wouldn't profit from it. Could you speak on that just for a moment, the loops that you went through to just be able to start this?
Yeah, I mean, there had been a woman who befriended him when he was first arrested in 2005. She wanted to write this book, and it didn't come out. So I saw her on Facebook 5 years later in 2010 and asked her what happened, and she knew who I was, asked me if I would take it over because she didn't want to do it. But that was the easy part. Then I had to tell the families what I wanted to do. And I did not want to write a book where a serial killer was just going to blah, blah, blah. I wanted to write a book where whatever he had to say was going to benefit psychology, criminology, and law enforcement. We need him to pay attention to the stuff we need to know that will help us in other ways. And so he was on board for that. But the victims' families were also involved. They had a sort of a consortium, and he had signed his life rights over to them. So I had to agree that they would get the majority of the proceeds, which was fine with me, because for me, the reward was really in doing the work. And so they do get a financial benefit from this. But it took a while. It took several years before we got all the legalities and whatnot into place.
And I just have one more question in the chat, and then I think, and I won't take any more. Sorry. Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying is I know I'm not a regular in the live streaming in the afternoons. So a lot of people don't have notifications on for me or looking for me live streaming. So I appreciate that I got a little crowd here today. I really do, because this is an important subject for me. And I just, like I said, if you could spread the word, or if you have a larger creator that you watch, please make sure they know that Dr. Katherine Ramsland did make a public statement regarding this subject that came up. And yeah, so am I still muted? Hold on. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I did give my mods a heads up that I was going to be live streaming, and I just really appreciate that you showed up to help keep the chat respectful and clean. And because I'm not here to, I'm not disparaging any other creator or any other person, or just trying to set the record straight. That's all. And wait, what? So I'm not going to continue with the live stream because we could, but I do have a live plan for later tonight. So please hit that notification bell. I'm actually not sure if it's just going to be on AR's channel or if it's going to be on both of our channels, but I think I'm going live with him later tonight. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to what I have to say.